Good morning and welcome to Northwest Native Tracker, the channel that examines Bigfoot ground sport and native lore. So my mother brought me to this location when I was about 12. We spent a few days here and she explained the lore of the area. I did my sweat before I went out to meet the Ishka people. She described that this area at one point had been part of an alluvial floodplain, and that the bedrock in this area is 300 million years old. This is the last little section of it that isn't underneath soil. She claimed that the bedrock extended across this peninsula area here and up the hillside behind me, and that during the time of Pangea, this was an inlet bay area, floodplain marsh. It had, at high tide, it would have salt water coming into this area. And that our mountain coastal range was mostly islands, and that the Willamette Valley was under 25 feet of salt water at the time, when this bedrock was mud still. So this is the origin of the Lakota lore of where we came from. This is where the Dogman father and our Oma mother met and had us. So let me walk you through some of the tracks here. Keep in mind, this was mud then, and clay, and sand. So you can see, if you're a tracker, you can see where, animals went down into this waterway to drink, except that's all rock. But it's very old, 300 million years old. Now, part of the trackway here also has dinosaurs in it. There's more than one track of this guy here, but I haven't pulled all the moss out. I just wanted to pull one free, show you where it was. He was some sort of a little ancient dinosaur. And then the evidence that doesn't add up. Because according to what we understand of our fossil record, there weren't any cats, there weren't any mammals 300 million years ago. Except that's bullshit. Because that's a cat track. And he comes back and forth to get water here. There's another one of his tracks. I think there's another partial of his track somewhere coming back. Oh, here it is. So there's a cat, comes back and forth. There was also some sort of a hoofed creature that came in here. And I think this is part of the Dogman, a Dogman thumb that got stomped on the top of by something else. And you got another little deer, potentially, or horse track maybe. There's slip tracks, humanoid track. Now, as you walk across this area, there's also what was called a Trackway or Trackway line. There's a pair of lines here. Trackaways were supposedly used by the Sisiya, the giants that walked through this area, and they dragged their goods down the river as they were migrating, and they left marks from where they drug their Trackway. That's how we learned to make a Trackway. We watched the giants make the Trackway and use them. Also during that time there were giant dogs that traveled with the CCA. There are several tracks of these giant dog people in this area, and several partial tracks and punch tracks of the CCA giants that came here. But this is our origin story here. This is the Oma woman who was our mother. There are two of her tracks. There's one pretty good over her left foot, and that toe track there of her walking forward. The lore states that she would meet her Dogman beau here on the shore of this muddy bank. And they spoke, and they fell in love with each other, and they became husband and wife, and that they produced 2 children that had no hair. The little boy was born first, and then a little girl. And the day that these tracks were made, both their children and them left tracks and evidence of their being here. Additionally, upstream is one more track of the Dogman from that day, because he went hunting and left a track. Oh, there's some more drag line from the sticks. Now there was mud geysers, and that was a mineral spring that petrified most of this bedrock in here, the mud that was here. It was mineral spring, mud spring here. There was a mud geyser here. I think there was another mud geyser up further, if I remember right. And then his other track, and there are Bigfoot tracks preserved here too. But his other track is preserved here. Unfortunately, a hooved animal of some sort that was rather massive stepped on the backside of his track. So their heels kind of met. So this was his back foot, back right foot. You still see his claw marks. You still see his track. You still see where he laid his heel down. So he went hunting and would provide for his family by remaining neutral between the two tribes. He'd hunt the riverbed and provide for his family that way, until the marriage was finally accepted. Sort of the first Romeo and Juliet story, according to what my mother claimed. But there are a multitude of tracks down here in all kinds of positions here. Additionally, there is a three-toed sloth track down here, the spider sloth that I have drawn pictures of. There is a back right foot and a front right knuckle imprint from one of them. And it's over here on the other side of this little channel. And it's right here. So there's a couple of supposed horse tracks again. And then there's this three-toed, this is the back foot. So it has a little kind of thumb print thing here, fourth toe, very unusual misshapen back foot with the edge of the foot. And then here, according to the lore, are its first front knuckle prints. So the lore states that it was sitting here, it got startled, it put its foot down, got up, used its knuckles to push itself up, and then took off. So that's the only set of track that's really, really clear of one of those spider sloth creatures. So that creature also is from 300 million years ago, like everything else down here. So if you'd like to see more trackways, if you would like to see more lore like this, I know of trackways down in the redwoods that have dinosaurs, again, next to people and primates and humanoids and all kinds of things that we don't even know in our fossil record. And I don't even think we have bones to some of these things that I've seen. But anyway, that note being said, you know, my mom said there's plenty of evidence down in here. You'd have to peel the ground off to find it. And, you know, if you would like to see more stuff like this, please consider supporting my endeavors to get on the road. I would like to be able to document more locations like this and preserve the lore, retell the lore, and share it again so that it can, you know, is no longer forgotten, no longer lost. Thank you very much. Please consider subscribing if you are not already subscribed. Please consider liking and sharing if you like the content. Thank you so much.